Hey guys, welcome to the Up Next podcast, where we are interviewing teen entrepreneurs that are making it big time in the startup world. We are asking the questions we know you want to hear. Up Next is an app made for teens where anyone can join or build a real life startup.
Hello everyone. Today we have Harry Beard, age 21, from the UK. He is the co-founder of the Prospect 100, the world's best youth competitions. It can be with music, design. We'll get into the specifics. We have people like Steve Wozniak, Rico Nasty, Sean Witherspoon, which is a super cool shoe designer. We have pretty much any and all aspects of creativity going on here. Harry, this is such a cool thing to talk about. We have the biggest hype in the office going on that I am talking to you today.
First of all, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
How did you find yourself creating such a business? What sparked the idea?
Prospect 100 was started by myself and two friends at the start of lockdown. I really felt that, I guess we all really felt, and I think people all around the world felt, that lockdown is obviously, and COVID as a whole has been so tricky on so many people. But for us, one of the big things that we felt was slightly overlooked was young creatives in this time. If you're a musician, let's say, quite often your musical instrument will be owned by your school or your college or your university or your community center or wherever you go to play music. So if you can no longer access instruments, if you can no longer access collaborators like your friends, then this lockdown would have been a pretty dark period, I feel, for a lot of young creatives. So we really tried to create something that would hopefully inspire, give opportunity, and just really, I guess, get young creatives hopeful to keep pursuing their passion. And that's what we've really set our sights on doing. And we've been super fortunate, as you mentioned rightly, to that we've had a lot of great supporters, whether that be some amazing individuals like the aforementioned individuals, as well as organizations who really come out and said, we're down to support young creatives as well. And so we're really glad, I guess, to see so many people being down to support our vision, and obviously to see so many young people hopefully getting a lot of benefit from it.
How much time did it take for you to build the product that you launched?
I think it's hard to know exactly, because all three of the co-founders, we've been doing loads of stuff before Prospect 100. I feel like, a lot of what we've been doing, like Adam Flanagan, one of my co-founders, ran Europe's largest youth hackathon, and he started that at 13. My other co-founder, Alexandra, he started a clothing brand at, I believe it was 15 or 16. And so, I guess all of the skills that we used to start Prospect 100 came from that period in our lives, particularly looking at Adam and Alex, obviously there in note. So I think it's very hard to say when everything came about for Prospect 100 and how long it took, because so many of the aspects of, what made maybe some parts of making Prospect 100 easier came from 5 years worth of pre-build up and just trying different ideas and reworking. I think any young person who's got an idea and wants to start a project, that would be the big thing I would say. You should start whatever idea you have, because at the end of the day, you don't know, it might not be that specific idea that becomes your long-term occupation or your long-term goal, but it's the skills that you'll develop with that make whatever it is you're going to do in the future easier. So, I think we've been really lucky. Let's take Alexandra, for example. His clothing brand is really well supported by celebrities, and he saw the power that celebrities can then have on press and legitimacy. And so it was that idea that he'd already had from his clothing brand, NASA Seasons, that instantly came into, right, well, that's what we should be doing. And I think for a lot of other initiatives, had it just been myself and Adam starting, maybe that would have been something we worked in year 3 or year 4, but we did it from the very get-go. So I would say that it's a really hard, I couldn't tell you how long it took us, because as I mentioned, we were kind of working out what Prospect 100 was before the pandemic started, but it was really at that pandemic stage and lockdown stage where Prospect 100 became what it is, and as we know it today. But I would just really say that a lot of different experiences came into it over a pretty long period. And so again, any young person watching this right now, I would really urge, if you have an idea or you have an term, something along the line, guaranteed, those skills that you learn will be implemented somewhere, and it will save you a lot of time, I'm sure.
How much money was needed to build your first version?
First competition, and in fact, our whole first year, what did we need? A website. So we used Squarespace, which I believe is like $10 a month or something along that, maybe slightly more, but it's not a crazy sum of money. Alexandra had a design background, so he was able to create a lot of the stuff. So in all honesty, what did it cost us? Not much more than a Squarespace website. We didn't use any paid ads. We didn't pay any of our judges. We asked them to, everyone who's judged our competitions has done it for free at no cost. We didn't do anything. Obviously, because we have begun generating income, we have started spending more. So we started doing social media ads. We upgraded our website. We worked with a branding agency. There are stuff that we've done later on that cost money, but what did our start cost entail of? Like we had a working prototype, if you like, and we had 3 or 4 competitions under that working prototype for the expense of like $100 or something. It really wasn't crazy. And between 3 of us, it's $33 each, I guess. So yeah, you can really, in this day and age of social media, you don't necessarily need capital. Now that's something I would really just stress to young people everywhere, I guess. Like, you really don't need a lot of capital to do something that cool. I mean, obviously, if you're looking to start a tech company, it's ideal if one of your co-founders has a technical background. I think that's the thing which we really were lucky with, is the co-founding team and the people around us had, as I mentioned, quite a bit of experience already in different fields. So if it was the tech stuff, Adam's pretty techie, and so he was really able to help us with all of that. Alex has the design background, so all of that was covered. And so oh, sorry, there was one other expense as well. Actually, we had a Gmail email. I think again that's about $10 a month. So, but that really is it. So again, if you can't afford something, I think the best thing to do would be to find someone that has the skill you need and try and work with them on the project. And that's exactly what we did, and that's why we were able to churn out, at least an MVP, if you want to call it that, for virtually no cost. One thing that I think, one of the things, one of the reasons a lot of people may think it would cost a lot is because obviously the level of celebrity supporting, to get a co-sign from one of these celebrities would usually cost whatever sum of money. But I think what we've been really prepared to do is put in a lot of hours. So again, for our judging panel, the public sees 10 names, and hopefully each time they see 10 amazing names and they get very excited by them. But we sent thousands of emails. We've asked, I always have my friends saying, oh, wouldn't it be amazing if you had this person judging? I've emailed all of their team. Unfortunately, it didn't work out this year. We contact a lot of people, and all people ever see is that final 10 names. And so if you send 1,000 emails and you only get 10 yeses, that's only a 1% positive response, but that's the only thing that people see. And so I think that we, swapped putting in a lot of capital at the beginning, because obviously you could just pay these people to be involved and pay them to have their co-sign, but we swapped that for putting in quite a few hours, because that's the resources that we had at our disposal. We've got 24 hours in a day, but we didn't have 24 grand in the bank. So I guess that was our substitute.
How did you get those first users, customers to come aboard? What was that like?
Launched, we built a really strong community of people around us. I could list everyone's name and it would probably take me quite a while, but before our first ever launch, we did a Zoom call, and I sent out the link to a few people who I've been talking the idea with, and asked, could you join the Zoom call? We'd love to reveal what we've officially been working on. We've told everyone a few little things. We'd love to reveal it officially. And we were on the free Zoom, and Zoom has a max capacity of 100. That 100, before the call started, we had that maxed out. We had over 50 people in the waiting room. So before we started, we'd had conversations with so many young people who'd then gone and spoken to their friends about what we were trying to do, and they were excited about it. And so I feel like, it's the Uber concept. I really recommend anyone watching this. Ben Chesky, founder of Uber, or co-founder of Uber, did had an amazing conversation at Stanford University with Reid Hoffman. Really recommend going to watch it, because he was always saying, I would way rather you have 100 people that fully get the idea, who love the idea and are going to talk about your idea and spread it to the world, than have 1 million people that just get you, or not even get you, who've just heard of you or just kind of know you, or trying to work it out. Having that 100 core, and that's what I really spent a lot of time building. And that was, I guess, my role more than everyone else's in that aspect. And so once you have 100 people who get a little bit of exclusive access, they got it the day before. If they're going to tell 10 friends, all of a sudden that's 1,000 participants, and it kind of grows from there, I guess. And so that was really a big part of what we were doing. But obviously, when you have cool names involved that we did, that leads to press. It leads to those people sharing Instagram stories. It leads to you being able to go and speak to other people, say, do you want to talk to us on social media, on Instagram, and do a live stream? So I think we were pretty smart and quite diligent with it. But obviously with Instagram, it's a two-way thing. Like, you don't just have to wait for inbound. You can be outbound. You can be DMing people. You can go and search #unsigned musician and DM every single person on that list. Go and then like all their photos, comment on stuff. If you, again, substitute the ad spend for hours if you can't afford the ad spend. Ad spend, fortunately, can target all of those people on scale much more easily. But if you don't have it, then you've got to do what you've got to do.
Could you name one advantage and one disadvantage of being such a young entrepreneur?
Young age, for me, like, obviously there's disadvantages in terms of we don't have much like experience, if that makes sense. We don't, I look back at some of the stuff I was doing at 18 and think, what a plonker, why are we doing that? That was so silly or whatever. But at the end of the day, we're young, and that's the benefit of being young. Like, we're here to learn. Everyone's got to be young at some point. And I think the fact that anyone listening to this who's starting at a young age, when you're 21, 22, 23, or 30 or 40 or whatever, you're going to look back and go, I made such rookie mistakes at that point. But you wouldn't know that they're rookie mistakes unless you've done them. And so I think that's the really good thing. Whenever you look back at something and get cringed by it, that's a good sign, because it means that you've got better. Like, you wouldn't do that ever again. And that's natural. If you don't look back at your old stuff and don't cringe, then you're probably not moving forward. So I guess for me, that's like the worst thing. Guys, being young is unreal, because you can just say to everyone, oh, I'm 17. Everyone will tweak. They'll be like, what, you're 17? I want to support this person. I want to support this kid. They're 17. They're going out there chasing their goals. I want to support that person. If your project fails and you're 17, who cares? You learn from it. People are going to respect you for trying at such a young age. People are going to, you learn skills that no one else has done. Like, whether it was even sending an invoice, learning how to email people, really basic stuff. You never would have learned that had it not been for starting your own initiative at a young age. So being at a young age is amazing, because not only are you only learning and people are going to respect you if stuff doesn't work out, but at the end of the day, people really want you to win because you're young. Like, we never hear, this person started a business that did 50 grand turnover if they're 40. Like, no one cares. But if you're 16 and turning over 50 grand, that's a massive deal. And it's, use your age to your advantage. It's going to get you press. It's going to open doors for you, and it's going to get people to be way, way, way more supportive and wanting to see you win. And, again, I'm not 30, I'm not 40. I haven't yet been introduced to this cruel, harsh world that a lot of people talk about. Everything, I guess, at a young age is still quite fluffy and quite safe. And so I'm sure one day I'll go, wow, people aren't that nice to you when you're 30 or 40 in the corporate world. So, whilst we're still young and whilst the world is still this fluffy, lovely place, and again, I'm speaking from an English perspective, I'm sure there are plenty of people around the world who maybe don't agree with that vision, but right now, to a lot of people, we are still in a safer space than we will be when we're 30 or 40. Let's make the most of it.
Which entrepreneurs inspire you the most these days? Who do you have your eye on?
Really, really inspired by, I guess, over the last few months, is probably James Jebbia, the founder of Supreme. I think everyone knows Supreme and everyone loves Supreme. I think James Jebbia, what he built is incredible. I can never get my head over the fact that there are millions of brands similar to Supreme out there, people who started skate shops. What made him turn that into a $2 billion company? I definitely think that there are people, though, that inspire me who aren't necessarily entrepreneurs. And I think the thing is, for me, we look at entrepreneurship, we use the word entrepreneur, but actually I don't think that's a great word to use, because at the end of the day, all of the best entrepreneurs in the world would never call themselves entrepreneurs. Like, one of the people that obviously inspires me the most, I've watched probably every interview of his online, I've watched every talk he's ever given, if it's possible, read his book, etc. Steve Jobs. But if you ask Steve Jobs, describe yourself to me, he would probably say, I'm a designer. And I think that's one of the key things I would say to a lot of young people out here is, like, even if someone's not an entrepreneur, it doesn't mean you can't be inspired by them. Like, if you really enjoy the arts, why can't you be inspired by Basquiat or by Rothko or whoever it might be? Or why can't you be inspired by the guys who are creating the latest street art, whether it's like Andre Sarajevo or Ketnips or someone like that, why can't you be inspired by those people, even if they don't, they're not saying that Elon Musk, or they're not saying that entrepreneurs out there like that. I think I'm always intrigued by people that just have unique ideas. And so in that respect, for me, as I just mentioned, Ketnips is a massive one. I think he's a young guy by the name of Harry as well, from Cardiff. He's 22. And if anyone hasn't come across Ketnips, the cartoon series, I really believe that could be our generation's equivalent of Hello Kitty or Walt Disney or something like that. And I get really inspired by young people who are doing crazy stuff like that, because, and even actually a brand called Kids Super run by Com Delane from New York City, because these are guys that never really gave up and kept going and showed that persistence will often bring results. Like, I remember meeting Ketnips, he was on 200K on Instagram, thinking that's crazy. Fast forward to today, he's now got over 7 million followers across the board and is one of the most hyped like designers on the internet. And Kid Super, again, I came across him early 2020, 30,000 followers. He's now booming. J. Cole was literally wearing his jacket in a video that got posted the other day. And you watch these people over time and you're like, a few years ago, they were in the pack with everyone else, and now they've really kind of gone way ahead. Like, they didn't just stop. They didn't just get content. They always kept challenging and kept trying to do stuff that no one believed they ever could. And so I guess those are people who I doubt they would call themselves entrepreneurs. Like, whilst they are, no one's thinking of them as business people, because they don't run a business from a desk with a suit and a tie in the case of a man. But, I think they really inspire me.
How important do you feel it is for young entrepreneurs to think about social change when creating a business?
Anything that has an impact will always, again, win favor with people. And I mean, it's interesting because the word social impact can mean so much and can be quite broad. Like, for me, let's almost ignore the word social for a second and just talk about impact. I think that by definition, a business, if it's going to succeed, has to have impact, whether it's, on helping another business save money or save time, or whether it's helping, plant more trees or to help refugees or whatever it might be in terms of a social aspect. So I think the first things first, for any business model is thinking about the real impact you're having. But yeah, obviously social impact's huge. What we definitely tried to do was, I guess some would call it social impact. Like, we didn't necessarily think of it in that way, if that makes sense. We want to help young creators, but we never thought of it as social impact. We just kind of saw maybe an issue and tried to solve it. So yeah, I think it's obviously, you've got to think about social impact at all times. It's hard for me to sit here and say like it's a necessity, because we never thought about it that way. It just kind of fortunately had a slightly wider impact. Again, we're not helping millions of different people around the world. We're not planting trees in, wherever we need to go and plant trees. We're not helping refugees. We're not doing anything that's changing, I guess, the world. And I think that, again, just really think about the impact you're having. And if you can tweak it to have a wider social impact, you can think of other ideas. But I would really say, though, one of the things is, if social impact is going to be your driving force, if that's really what you're caring about, don't make sure it looks like that. Make sure it's not kind of seen as a sidecar. If you're going to say, oh yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to start a clothing brand, and then we'll donate 20% of the profits to charity, that sucks. Like, if you're going to try and do something that's positive for the environment, make sure that every part of your clothing brand or every part of your company is that it needs to be at the center of what you're doing, not just oh yeah, we could start a business and then to have a social impact, we can donate this. Like, yeah, that's great and that's better than nothing, but it's an afterthought, and it's clearly an afterthought. And I don't think that resonates with anyone. You're not really I don't think people are going to buy it so much. So, and I'm not trying to say that social impact's a kind of a marketing tool, but I just think that if you're really if that's going to be your thing, don't make it an afterthought. Don't make it let's just donate 20%. Make sure that every aspect of what you're doing is positive. Otherwise, best believe you'll be called out for it, and it will be seen that you're trying to use social impact as a marketing ploy, which I think is probably not a great look for anyone.
What is the next goal for you looking forward?
Obviously, please everyone, do check out our socials, particularly if you are a young creative or you know one. Obviously at the time of recording, which we're in late May, mid-May or something, our next competition's a massive one. I don't think anyone is ready for what we've got coming. And yeah, the next 7 competitions that we've already got planned are unreal. It's only getting better and better and better. So if you are a young creative, you know a young creative, and you want an opportunity, whether it's going to perform at one of the biggest festivals in the world as a musician, or to collaborate with some of the biggest entities in the world, make sure that you're following Pros 100 because yeah, we've got some big stuff planned.